it was the worst of times. And I think everybody in the industry can relate to this. The past 18 to 20 months has been crazy. Just think about it. 20 months ago, we were all together. We were at the JW Marriott. We were celebrating Tim Norland. Where you at, Tim? Winning Recruiter of the Year. We had come up with a lot of strategies that we wanted to take back and implement. We knew 2020 was going to be our year. Touching on unemployment rates were at an all-time low. We were at 3.5%. And then you're also seeing the driver shortage becoming more realistic. It was something that people were talking about more and more. We had the clearinghouse coming in also. But COVID hit. And I think everybody can remember exactly where they were, or that memory of when COVID first affected you and your company. I know I do. I was headed to Harrisonburg, Virginia. I was going on a work trip, and we spent 6 hours figuring out how are we going to support our drivers? How are we going to support our staff? What are we actually going to be able to do to keep the operation moving? So that brings us to what we now realize is the Great Resignation. We started hearing words of recruiter fatigue. How are we going to keep our employees, our drivers, and ourselves motivated, sane? Let's de-stress our lives. How can we do this? We started hearing about advertising warfare. That's what we called it. 100% saturation to the market. How are we going to hire the drivers? You had to combat drivers that were scared to leave the homes. They were scared to go out, didn't know what to expect. But the one good thing was the whole wide world finally gave our drivers what they've been needed. And that was that you're the American hero. You're the true heroes of the highway. They kept us stocked with our toilet paper, our Lysol, and they brought us everything we needed. So in all that, we started experiencing, in the months you'll see of April, let me get over there. From April to June, 12 million people voluntarily quit their jobs. That was something that was unheard of. So challenges are here to stay, and we know what those challenges are going to be. First is your skilled shortage. Skilled labor continues to see an impact. Baby boomers are leaving the skilled shortage. We do not see the individuals coming back in for all skilled labor. The TCAT, our technical schools, all those shut down. That impact is going to be longer than you realize. Also, alternatives. Drivers are no longer looking for driving positions that are coast to coast. They're looking for alternatives. They're looking at more gig work. We started hearing that terminology more and more this year. And that's usually you would hear that when there was a natural disaster or something that would increase the construction business. But now more and more people are looking at gig work. And over 500,000 people were hired for Amazon in the year 2020 at wages of $18 to $23 an hour. When I saw that, I thought, wow, we hire for my company a local driver in Jackson, Tennessee at $18 an hour. So you have to weigh the options. Would I rather be a truck driver, all the stress that they go through on a daily basis, making the same amount that I could go to the Amazon warehouse, be in a controlled environment, be home every night for the same amount of money? So as a carrier, you have to look at those options and see how can we improve. Also is the new work deal. A lot of people were impacted and went remote. And we were able to see remote work actually does work. In 2015, I started in the recruiting division, and I asked my supervisor at the time, can I not do this job from home? All I need is the internet and a phone. As long as I've got service, I can do exactly what I'm doing. She said, no, how would I manage you? How can I manage that you're actually being productive if you're not in the office? Fast forward to 2020, we are making it work. It is manageable. So people are getting a taste of remote life, and they like it. I can tell you 100% of my recruiters are at home. I have no aspiration to ever bring them back, unless they wanted to, because they're doing an amazing job at home. And one other thing I went to quick was, mental health. We're seeing more and more people being open about their mental health and really setting those boundaries in your work-life balance. You're no longer experiencing individuals that want to work 6 days a week and maybe take that one Sunday off to just connect and recharge. They're really putting their priorities in their work-life balance. So as we prepare for the recruiting and retention in the upcoming years, where we're going to have to understand and face reality are in these three key areas. Number one is going to be your candidate experience. How long does it take for an applicant to fill out an application at your carrier? How many questions do you have? How many releases do you have that they have to sign? If you have not filled out your own application, I would highly recommend you do that. I would go to a truck stop or a mall or a high traffic area. Do not sit at home in the comfort of your home and your high-speed internet. Feel how they feel. Put yourself in that position. I did that exercise a couple of years ago in my office. I have one job. It's the only job I've ever had in my life, and I was just appalled at how long it took for my application to actually go through the steps and get completed. So if you've not done that, I would highly recommend doing that. And then once they put the application in, how long does it take for your team to respond? I can tell you, if you have an automated response that says, you'll hear from a recruiter in 48 hours, I'm going to hire that driver out from under you. Because that's too long. 5 minutes, they should hear something. Have it automated, have a video, have an automated drip marketing that may go out over the next couple of hours. We'll be hearing from you. This is your recruiter. Learn more about what you've applied for. And then once they went through all those steps, filling out the application, they went through the process, they talked to your recruiting team, why is the recruiter saying no? Are there opportunities in that no to evolve your company? Because if they went through the steps and if you're doing it right, they've read your online job description, they know what they're applying for, they've went through the steps, why are you saying no? You'll be surprised at the areas and little key things you can pick up where you can make improvements. Next will be a culture check. This is a gut punch. We're currently going through this. Is how can you improve your culture? Does your actual messaging that your recruiting team is selling or your talent acquisition team is selling to that candidate match what they experience when they come into orientation? Does that match what operations is actually doing? And then I would challenge you to take the next step. After day one, reach out to that candidate. Is everything you were told exactly the experience you experienced? And then go to day 10 and check back in. Go to day 30 and even 360. Make sure that you're selling the transparent experience that they should experience, and you will see an improvement in your turnover. Communication is key. One thing that I always love is to hear when people say, I have an open door policy. But is it truly an open door policy? Or are you one of those individuals that sits at your desk and says, I have an open door policy, but if my door's closed, please don't open it because I'm busy. That always drives me crazy. You have to have a true open door policy. And then looking for key indicators for your disengagement across the board, not only for your drivers, but your driver staff, your support staff. Are there any key areas? Are you seeing an increase in call-offs? Are you seeing an increase in or a decrease in productivity and an increase maybe even in your medical expenses? Can they all tie back to what a driver may be going through? If you're a driver and you have two individuals that have to go to the doctor and you have to pay that copay, and you may have an expensive copay, that's a lot coming out of pocket when the carrier down the road may have zero copay. So look at those items, look at those key indicators and see if you can correlate them back. They're not always the answer, but they may tell a story that can get you to the answer. And lastly, that's most important to me at this time is the employee experience. COVID absolutely stressed everyone to the max. Are you looking at your mental health benefits that you offer? Are you looking at more paid time off? How can you improve your paid time off? Is it old? Is it something that needs to be revamped? Do you need to have a new way of just engaging your employees? And also, this one is near and dear to my heart because it's a personal experience. Are you investing in your employees, not just your driver staff or support staff, but the drivers? Are you asking them, what's your career plan? What's your path? Over 60% of the driver support staff in our company are previous drivers. Our vice president of operations was a local driver for us in 2004. So it's exciting to see those career growths. I started working for the company in 2006. I was a single mom living at home, and fast forward to 2015, I was married and had 3 children, but I was the only one working. My husband was back in college finishing his degree. I was making $20 an hour, and I went in one day, and I was stressed, and I went to my supervisor at the time and was actually going in to resign. And I told him, I said, I'm just so stressed, can't handle it, I've got to find something else closer to home. I'm driving 1 hour every single day to come to the office. And he said, well, what about Jackson? Is it closer? And I said, yeah, that's closer, I can do that. What do you want me to do? I can change oil, because that's where our shop's at. Or I can help with safety, what do you want me to do? And he said, let's go with recruiting. I was very reluctant. But then when I finally made a change, I sat down with the supervisor, Amy Cohen, and she is my Mr. Jensen. That story this morning just hit home for me. Because she said, Rachel, what do you want to do in 5 years? Where do you see yourself? And I told her, I said, Amy, I don't know I don't know how to answer that. And she said, what do you mean? I said, it's always been just a job. For 9 years, it's just been a job. No one's ever asked me what my career goals were, what my career path may be. So we sat down, we talked about opportunities and what that may look like, and fast forward, now I'm the VP of People Operations. But if it wasn't for her taking the time to engage and develop me, I would not have been at the company still. Like I said, I was going in to resign. So how many employees do you have that you're not looking at to see a career path? How many of these drivers are you working with that may no longer want to drive for you, but could be great candidates for a recruiter, could be a retention specialist, could help you with a mentor program? So I challenge everybody to look internally and see if you can find those little diamonds in a rough. They may not even know themselves what they want to do, but that's where we're going to make the biggest impact, is really investing, engaging with our employees.
All right, that's great. Thank you so much, Rachel. All right, we're going to move on to Lori Fresnel, and just a reminder,